What's going on, YouTube? Well, we've got a new game coming just around the corner here on January the 13th, and that is the Anacrusis, a new 4-player co-op survival shooter that is arguably something you could call Left 4 Dead in space. Now, you may have noticed from the gameplay footage on screen that this looks a bit familiar to you, and that's because this is running on the same source engine as Left 4 Dead in 1 and 2. Now, that being said, there's also some of the writers and developers from the Left 4 Dead team branching off, making their own company, and this will be their flagship game, the first game that they'll be developing as that team. Now, at that same point, that's why you're going to see a lot of similarities between this and Left 4 Dead. Arguably, this is probably the closest thing that we'll ever get to a Left 4 Dead 3, considering Valve is a horrible game or a company that never makes things in threes. For whatever reason, we're always waiting for that Half-Life Episode 3, but maybe one day we'll see it. But more than likely, it's probably not going to happen. But that being said, when this launches on the January the 13th, this is going to be one of those early access games. We won't have a completely fully fleshed out game, but there's going to be more than enough content for us to play around with and have a good bit of time. And that being said, at the same time, if you're on Xbox Game Pass, you will be getting this available to you for free on that day one. Microsoft's shelling out that money, giving us some of those exclusives, giving us those titles for our subscription, and I can't be happier about it. But at that same point, you will be able to download this off of Steam or Epic Game Store for a $30 price tag. But in the first week for Steam specifically, I don't know about Epic Game Store, there will be a 20% discount, so you'll be able to save $5 there if you're really looking forward to something that's more of a Left 4 Dead, possibly closer to that Left 4 Dead 3. You really want that scratch to be itched. This is going to be one of those games that does that. Now, sadly enough, PlayStation is going to have to take that backseat on this. I don't know whether or not when it comes to the content that we'll be able to experience during this early access, so far the only knowledge that I know is what we've got the first 3 episodes. There will be some things that we can unlock. There'll be some challenges. There'll be some things for us to do. But at the same point, we won't have that full access to the entire game just yet. But when it comes to the first 3 episodes, I believe it's similar to, in comparison to like the first 3 campaigns of Left 4 Dead or the first 3 acts of Back 4 Blood. Obviously, probably not like the first 3 acts, considering that's the majority of the game when it comes to Back 4 Blood. But there are apparently already set in stone. There's going to be 5 episodes, so we'll have access to the first 3. And what they're trying to do with this early access is essentially talk to the player base, get an understanding on what are the things that you like, what are the things that you don't like, and try to work around that instead of just fully releasing the game and just having a bunch of bugs that they need to fix instead of working on the content itself. They want to get all of the bugs out of the way before they fully launch it and try to get the game mechanics down to just being purely enjoyable for the player base. That way they can just push forward and continue to make content. And when it comes to content for this game, they are all for the modding section. If you remember Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, huge thing about the replayability was all these people just creating different mods for it, creating different campaigns for it, and we're going to be able to do that in this game as well. It's going to be a ton of fun right there. I can't wait to check out what some of these people make, and with this being in a 60s, 70s sci-fi type of setting, guarantee you somebody immediately day one or somewhere around there is going to put a lightsaber in here, and we're just going to be able to just move, just start cutting through all these aliens with some type of lightsaber melee weapon. Wouldn't be surprised if they actually just added that as a full-on gameplay feature. That would be pretty interesting to me, but who knows if there's some type of copyright with Disney. You know, they've got that wrangled around their finger. I mean, there's some people out there that they can't even say that they're having lightsaber training as a just play thing. I don't know. Starting to ramble on here. But we'll get back to onto the gameplay itself. Now, when it comes down to the gameplay, we're going to have a wide plethora of different guns to use from. There's more than a few things that we'll be able to pick up along the way. I get the sense that this might be a bit roguelike. They don't necessarily have a deck system, but there are these control consoles that you'll be able to find along each map between each elevator. The elevators are going to be the safe rooms. It's what you saw earlier where we start off in this circular room with a bunch of guns available to us. We'll be able to pick those up and then push on out, and in the middle we'll be able to recharge our weapon. Apparently that's how we restock our ammo. It's all about charging whatever ammo capsule that we have that we start sticking into the side of these guns. Now, as you'll notice just ahead or just in front of us right now, that's going to be the Brute. That's the thing that's similar to the tank. And then that's going to be the goo spitter or something. It's like the spitter and the hawker combined. It'll spit some type of goop on you, and then teammates will have to shoot you in order to get that goo off of you. But at the same time, they have a new feature when it comes to the melee in this game. You'll notice this guy isn't exactly meleeing anything. He's not punching anything. They have some type of force push ability. That's kind of a cool, neat addition to this game. I really like it. There's always those moments when you get completely surrounded by some of those common infected. In Left 4 Dead or Back for Blood, you've got a couple of them in front of you. You start beating that one, then next thing you know, you're completely surrounded. Your best bet is just to start shooting some of them and try to make it out, but more than likely you're slowed down. You can't escape. With this ability of this force push, it's in a full 360 radius, so if you're completely surrounded, you'll be able to hit that melee shift charge. You'll notice that at the bottom, I believe that's what those 3 greenish blue circles or teal circles are. You'll have those charges to force push everything out around you, shoot a couple of them in front of you, and make it out of there. Now that's really exciting for me, and that's something that's going to change up the gameplay a bit, but it's a nice additional feature that you wouldn't have had. And now, one of the biggest selling points that they're trying to argue with this game is that it has infinite replayability. Now, I'm a bit skeptical about that statement, but what they're talking about is with the AI director. If you remember from Left 4 Dead that there was an AI director that would call in hordes at certain moments, create crescendo moments, it would lay out some of the witches and other things along the path for you as you go through each mission and try to change it up in different ways. It seems that they've kind of updated on that system, and they've almost made a completely new variant to it, where it's not only placing these zombies in different places every time, or these aliens in different places every time. I'm going to get confused with that more than a few times when making content for this game. But with these alien creatures, they'll be in different spots every single time. They're talking about each time you run through any one of these missions, nothing is going to be in the same place twice or something along those lines. Now, arguably, at some point, I guarantee you there's going to be more than a few moments where you look in certain areas and there'll be a station where you can possibly get this upgrade at this console where you either get, increase the damage for that force push around you, or increase the damage, or getting some type of explosive from kills. These are the things that kind of make me think it's going to be roguelike. But at that same point, when it comes to this AI director, they have something that's kind of like what I'd probably term a skill-based difficulty. So if you're doing really poor in the game, your first time in, you don't know anything, you're just a noob in general. You're not a big gamer, and your whole team's going down. You're taking a lot of damage. On the main path, there'll be health kits spawning for you, and even if you're an extremely absurd noob and you don't even notice these health kits, they'll spawn even more along the path, and it'll notice that you're not picking those up and continuously try to help you out in that run, which in more than likely the case, if they didn't notice the first ones, they'll more than likely not notice the next ones on the main path. But on the flip side, if you're doing really well, you're crushing the enemies, you're just making your way through, not taking any damage, not going down, it's going to kind of ramp up the difficulty a little bit. And at the same point, it's going to start spawning some of those stations where you'll get upgrades or some of those weapons or health kits or auto turrets, grenades, and things of that nature off the main path. So you kind of have to go searching for it. And that's what I've learned from some of the devs on some of the things that they've talked about when it comes to that AI director. Now that seems really interesting to me. At the same time, I'm a bit skeptical with it. It's one of those moments where I feel as though at some point we may be running into one of those moments where it kind of goes overkill. You're doing really well, and then all of a sudden it just gives you something that's almost unbeatable, and it starts draining ammunition from you. It's not spawning health kits. Arguably, I like that it tries to make it a little bit harder on you, and at the same point, if you are just running with randoms and you got two that are just complete noobs and you and your buddy are just running with them, if they're getting downed a lot, and it starts spawning some of those healths, it makes that carry a little bit easier and a little bit more enjoyable. But if you just got that solid stacked out team and it just starts throwing overwhelming masses at you, and you just start taking a massive amount of damage, it just gets to be more than you can handle. You start running out of that ammunition. There is a tipping point when it comes to being too hard or being challenging and then being just overwhelming and unbearable. So we'll see when it comes down to when I play this. And if you'd like to see some of this action live, if you're kind of questioning whether or not you want to get this and you want to see somebody play it and get a good feel on whether or not it's something you might be willing to pay for or just pick up off of that Xbox Game Pass, head over to that link down in the description. Follow me over at Twitch. I'll be definitely streaming this on the day and making a bit of content that for the next couple of days after that on this game. I'm definitely excited to have something a little bit fresh. Obviously not done with Back 4 Blood just yet, but at the same time, it's nice to have something a little step aside that doesn't give Back 4 Blood that chance to really get super stale on me. Now that's about all the information I really have on the game. You know, I could go into a bit more detail and just talk about how excited I am for it, but at the same point, I've just felt like this needed a little bit more attention, and I know a lot of people that are subscribed to my channel really enjoy Back 4 Blood, and more than likely, if you've enjoyed Back 4 Blood, you're going to enjoy this one. If you enjoyed Left 4 Dead before, hell, even if you didn't really enjoy Back 4 Blood and you're really looking for that Left 4 Dead style itch, this is more than likely going to be that scratch for you right here. I'm thoroughly excited to check this one out. I'll be there on that January 13th. If you'd like to catch it live, if you'd like to see some of the content before possibly jumping into it, trying to get an understanding on the game before you throw yourself in with some of your friends, more than welcome to come on by. Hit that link in the description. Follow me up over at Twitch. But that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys are as excited as I am. Maybe this was something that slipped underneath the radar for you as well. If it did, I'm glad to bring it to your attention, especially if you're on Xbox Game Pass, considering this is going to be completely free for us. We'll all be able to jump in on this and just have a good time. But on that note, hope you guys enjoy, and if you wanted to see more gameplay footage of this, I'll have the link down in the description for this guy's channel or the video for the playtest as well. Go and check that out. It's definitely something to look over, get an understanding for the game, get a better, thorough understanding on how the game's going to play out for how it will with this early access. With that being said, I'm starting to ramble on. Hope you guys enjoyed, and have a good one.